Imagine racing at over 120 miles per hour, with a 1,000-foot cliff just inches from your tires. Now add thin air, overheating brakes, blind corners, and all of this more than 14,000 feet above sea level. Welcome to the most insane race on Earth. Welcome to the Pikes Peak Hill Climb. Stick with us until the end because, beyond the history and the records, we'll uncover some technical facts and wild moments that most people have never heard of, and they just might blow your mind. Every June, a twisting mountain road carved into the Rockies of Colorado becomes the ultimate proving ground for elite drivers and brilliant engineers. It's just 12.4 miles long, with 156 turns and over 4,700 feet of elevation gain, but more than enough to separate mortals from legends. Since 1916, the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb, also known as the Race to the Clouds, has been more than just a speed contest. It's a battle, man versus machine versus mountain. And today on World Explored, we're climbing through every twist and turn of this iconic race, from its humble origins to the jaw-dropping modern records. The idea to race to the top of the mountain started with Spencer Penrose, a local entrepreneur who wanted to promote tourism in Colorado Springs. In 1916, he built a road to the summit and organized the very first race. It was won by rail lengths, driving a car powered by airplane fuel. For decades, the route was partly gravel, which added serious danger. It wasn't until 2012 that the entire course was paved. And once that happened, lap times started to fall rapidly. Today, the race features electric prototypes, track-built supercars, monster trucks, and even purpose-built vans. It's the only place in the world where you might see an electric prototype, a muscle car, and a racing semi-truck all attacking the same mountain road. Pikes Peak isn't just a driving challenge, it's a physical and mechanical battle. The race starts at 9,390 feet and ends at 14,115 feet above sea level. That's a massive drop in air density, up to 30% less oxygen by the time you reach the summit. For combustion engines, that means a huge loss in power, as there's less oxygen for fuel to burn. But for electric cars, this is where they shine. Since they don't rely on air intake, they keep full power all the way to the top. One of the reasons why the Volkswagen IDR broke the all-time record in 2018. And it's not just the cars that suffer. The drivers do too. Many report headaches, blurry vision, and shortness of breath. All of this while pushing a car to its limits on hairpin corners with no guardrails and a 2,000-foot drop right next to the road. Over the years, Pikes Peak has created legends. One of the most iconic figures is Nobuhiro Monster Tajima, a Japanese driver who dominated the event for years in heavily modified turbo machines. In 2007, he became the first driver to break the 10-minute barrier. Another legendary moment came in 1988, when WRC champion Ari Vatanen raced a Peugeot 405 T16 and starred in the short film Climb Dance, which captured his terrifying, elegant run up the mountain in cinematic glory. But in 2018, the game changed. French driver Romain Dumas, behind the wheel of the fully electric Volkswagen IDR, completed the race in 7 minutes and 57 seconds, shattering the previous records and proving that electricity could rule the mountain. To this day, no combustion engine has come close to that time. With extreme speed and altitude come serious risks. One of the most infamous and fortunately non-fatal king crashes happened in 2012, when driver Jeremy Foley lost control of his Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution near a sharp turn and tumbled more than 600 feet down the mountain. The footage of the crash, showing the car flipping multiple times through rocks and trees, went viral. Miraculously, both Foley and his co-driver walked away with minor injuries. But not all outcomes have been as lucky. Following multiple fatal motorcycle crashes, race officials decided to permanently ban motorcycles from the Pikes Peak Hill Climb, starting in 2020. Even with all the records and fame, there are some lesser-known facts about Pikes Peak that make it even more fascinating. The air pressure difference between the base and the summit is similar to what you'd experience inside a commercial airplane, flying at 12,000 feet. That drop in oxygen density causes combustion engines to lose up to 30% of their power on the way up. That's why electric cars are becoming dominant. They don't need oxygen to generate power, making them ideal for high-altitude racing. In 2024, the fastest truck-like vehicle ever to climb Pikes Peak was the Ford F-150 Lightning Super Truck, an all-electric prototype driven by Romain Dumas, who completed the course in 8 minutes, 53.553 seconds. It raced in the Pikes Peak Open Division, setting the fastest time ever recorded by a truck format vehicle. On the other end of the spectrum, there have been attempts to climb using solar-powered vehicles, none of which have completed the course yet. And the human factor? It's real. Some drivers spend weeks acclimating to the altitude, camping in trailers on the mountain just to avoid dizziness and altitude sickness. And perhaps most surprising, the race begins at sunrise, not for style, but because it's the only time the mountain is relatively calm. Even then, weather changes in seconds. The sun might be out at the start, and a snowstorm might greet you at the summit. But beyond the altitude, speed, and danger, there's something even stranger that happens on Pikes Peak. Because of the elevation and unique atmospheric conditions, the sound of the engines changes dramatically as cars climb higher. At lower altitudes, engines roar with deep, aggressive tones. But near the summit, the thinner air carries sound differently, and the roar turns into a high-pitched whine, almost like a jet engine struggling to breathe. It creates a surreal experience for spectators and drivers alike, as if the mountain is distorting reality. And speaking of surreal, did you know some of the fastest drivers in Pikes Peak history claim they hallucinated during the climb? With reduced oxygen to the brain, combined with extreme focus, speed, and G-forces, it's not uncommon for drivers to experience brief visual distortions. Some say the roads seem to disappear under their wheels for a split second. Up here, it's not just about horsepower. It's a battle for clarity, control, and consciousness. On Pikes Peak, your greatest opponent might not be the mountain. It might be your own mind. More than a race, Pikes Peak is a ritual, a celebration of engineering, obsession, and the relentless human drive to push limits. Every driver who crosses the finish line earns something more than a trophy. They've conquered a mountain. So let us ask you this. Would you have the courage to drive at full speed up a mountain with nothing but sky on one side and a cliff on the other? Drop your thoughts in the comments. What type of car do you think will dominate the future of Pikes Peak? Electric, hybrid, or something the world hasn't seen yet? If you enjoyed the video, give us a like, subscribe to World Explored, and turn on notifications. Because every week, we take you to the most extreme places on the planet. And if you're still craving adrenaline, there's another wild adventure waiting for you right now on the screen. One that will push the limits of what you thought was possible. Until next time, keep exploring the edge of the world.